couple of days back during the owners' summit, John Spytek faced the press right before hitting Fernando Mendoza's pro day. He dropped some massive truth bombs and a few explosive trends clearly emerged. I went ahead and spliced the absolute best sound bites tackling those exact storylines. We are diving straight into that audio right this second. The biggest elephant in the room? Maxx Crosby. We are talking the sheer chaos, their current dynamic, and the ultimate master plan for his future alongside this entire squad. Here is his exact breakdown. He basically brushed off the past drama, simply hyped that their superstar edge rusher had officially returned to the building. Echoing his previous chat with JT, it feels like zero time passed. The guy is grinding relentlessly through rehab, primed to absolutely dominate by training camp, and they expect countless seasons of elite production from him moving forward. The timeline barely mattered because Monday's moves were locked before Tuesday's madness even erupted. Plus, they were sitting on a massive war chest of available funds. Mark and the ownership brass essentially handed them a blank check, ordering management to attack the market ruthlessly and construct an absolute powerhouse roster. Backing up Clint's earlier statement, the chips fell perfectly. They practically acquired a brand new superstar pass rusher off the open market. As mentioned countless times before, his dialogue with the star defender has been incredible since day one. They maintained brutal honesty all year long, climaxing with that highly publicized, explosive postseason sit-down. Everything was laid completely on the table during those tense months, leading straight up to the blockbuster extension. They ultimately finalized. Since that defining moment, their communication has remained absolutely stellar. The franchise pillar and Clint are constantly exchanging ideas at an elite level as well. They strip away the smoke and mirrors, demanding pure transparency. No hidden agendas, no blind spots. That brutal honesty is exactly how this power trio plans to dominate moving forward. Slashing a guy from the roster or shipping him off in a blockbuster trade shatters their entire reality. Keeping that heavy human element in mind is absolutely vital for management. Pulling the trigger on these roster cuts is incredibly gut-wrenching. Parting ways with Jacorian Bennett during last season's run was their initial brutal taste of this ruthless business. Delivering that crushing news face-to-face requires extreme mental fortitude. The goal is always to remain completely present during that devastating blow. You look the athlete dead in the eye, break down the harsh logic behind the move, and deliver the unvarnished truth while maintaining ultimate respect for their career. These are not just administrative moves, they are intensely profound exchanges. You are literally altering a human being's entire trajectory. These guys are never viewed as disposable assets. A single transaction completely flips their everyday existence upside down. Convincing a fierce competitor to step off the gridiron for even a single snap is a monumental war. But that intense negotiation remains an active, ongoing battle behind closed doors. You cannot help but admire his psychotic obsession with never leaving the bloody turf. However, Father Time remains undefeated, and eventually, the harsh reality of physical exhaustion turns even the greatest warriors completely mortal. Bringing on enforcers like Cody Pay, extending Malcolm Quance, and unleashing Tyree certainly will not magically convince the franchise star to casually surrender his precious playing time. In fact, it is guaranteed he will fight it tooth and nail. Yet, management refuses to drop the issue. Seriously guys, this explosive narrative just reared its head once more. The defensive juggernaut is slowly aging. Sure, he remains a lethal weapon in his physical prime, but those brutal battles have definitely left major scars on his body. The man possesses a massive medical file, heavily stacked with lower extremity trauma. The ticking clock is officially sounding the alarm, folks. Management absolutely must breach this uncomfortable topic. The superstar is guaranteed to despise the idea and will likely throw a massive fit over reduced minutes. However, the edge rusher must realize this strategy guarantees his survival. Protecting his health ultimately ensures the franchise gets maximum production out of him for countless future campaigns. Sacrificing a handful of reps per drive essentially bulletproofs him against catastrophic injuries. Staying fresh prevents his body from completely breaking down under the relentless Sunday grind. They are definitely forcing this critical sit-down with their star. Pivoting aggressively toward the open market, their entire off-season blueprint got thrown into absolute chaos almost overnight. How exactly did the front office mastermind and his entire scouting department, alongside the heavy-hitting coaching staff, respond to the absolute madness? What was their master plan for the spending spree? Which specific weapons were they hunting down in the open market? Remember, this massive leak occurred at the executive summit. This predates their shocking move to secure Kirk Cousins as their veteran insurance policy under center. Keep that timeline locked in your head. Here is the executive's unfiltered breakdown regarding the market frenzy, his ruthless tactics for locking down new talent and collaborating closely with the new regime. The front office formulated an absolutely lethal blueprint. Massive props go straight out to the brain trust: Brian Stark, Brandon Hunt, Ben Chester, Jordan Brown, and Jordy Hine. These guys ruthlessly evaluated every single breathing athlete across the entire association. The level of obsessive detail they brought to the war room was genuinely mind-blowing. Strategic debates raged behind closed doors all season long. The ultimate mission was crystal clear: inject serious youth into the roster while aggressively hunting down very specific, high-character alphas. The sheer amount of blood, sweat, and tears this department poured into the foundation is incredibly praiseworthy. Their relentless team synergy held everything together brilliantly, while they patiently hunted for the final pieces of their coaching puzzle. They deliberately paused the operation until the championship confetti dropped to bring Clint aboard. Once that massive domino fell, the entire hiring process shifted into hyperdrive, forcing the new staff to assemble the game plan at warp speed. Despite the chaos, the synergy between the talent evaluators and the play callers remained absolutely flawless. They locked arms and executed a phenomenal strategy, significantly upgrading the sheer firepower and overall lethality of the silver and black roster through dynamic, youthful additions. The front office recognized glaring vulnerabilities within specific units, aggressively fortified those exact trenches, and honestly completely knocked this entire rebuilding phase out of the park. Massive respect to the absolute wizards Tom Delaney, David Kristoff, and Julie Harris. The sheer financial gymnastics they pulled off to cram these mega contracts under the salary cap was pure genius. The mathematical wizardry required behind the scenes would literally make your head spin. It exceeds his own pay grade, making those cap gurus absolute lifesavers. At the end of the day, Adam, time will dictate the results. The War Room built a lethal blueprint and attacked the market with absolute ferocity. The brass is thrilled with the haul, but now these gladiators actually have to step onto the gridiron and translate the hype into pure dominance. Securing a signature on a dotted line is just step one of a massive war. Spot on observation. My friend, throwing cash at free agents guarantees absolutely nothing. Assembling a powerhouse roster goes way beyond just grabbing talent. It requires piecing together a lethal puzzle, locking in elite coaching, forcing player evolution, and dodging the devastating injury bug. Crafting a title contender demands so much more than simply throwing cash at top-tier free agents. Landing one massive superstar absolutely never guarantees you a championship ring. General Manager John Spytek completely nailed the free agency breakdown. This front office executed a ruthless strategy to inject pure youth, specifically targeting fresh, hungry talent ready to dominate their crucial post-rookie contracts. Spy and his entire crew orchestrated an absolute front office masterclass. They struck with brutal precision. Next up on their strategic hit list, completely overhauling the crucial trenches. Absolutely everybody knows the blocking unit has remained a gaping, bleeding wound for multiple seasons. Management had to stop the bleeding immediately. Without a fortified protective wall, Clint Kubiak's explosive offensive vision would remain completely dead on arrival. Fixing this wasn't a luxury, it was pure survival. Listen to how Spytek passionately hypes up Tyler Linderbaum, while outlining his incredibly aggressive blueprint for transforming this weak link into an absolutely unstoppable force. My complete awe for this relentless warrior ignited during his savage collegiate days at Iowa, and his first 4 professional seasons have been nothing short of breathtaking. I will openly confess my total obsession with brutal trench warfare. Thanks to my personal history, those massive Big Ten maulers will always hold immense power over me. Locking ourselves inside the War Room with Clint, Andrew Janocko, Rick Dennison, and the entire offensive brain trust revealed one clear, incredibly undeniable truth. Securing an elite anchor at the pivot position remained their ultimate holy grail. Luring a transcendent talent directly to Las Vegas would instantly ignite our entire playbook. You simply cannot teach his terrifying blend of ruthless aggression and pure football genius. He controls the heartbeat of the offense, snapping the rock every single down, fiercely shielding whoever drops back. He becomes an absolute weapon by absorbing the signal caller's heavy psychological burden. His elite preparation and razor-sharp intellect make him a totally bulletproof field general. Beyond his massive brain, he remains an absolute physical freak. He might not look like a hulking giant at the podium, but between the hashes, his raw athleticism is purely lethal. Watching him launch into the open field on outside zone schemes is genuinely terrifying. Our coaching staff constantly preaches total spatial dominance, and this guy executes it better than anyone alive. We plan on demanding the absolute world from our interior anchor. While clueless rival franchises might foolishly disrespect the position or refuse to pay top dollar, we flatly refuse to play that cheap game. We treat that vital spot like royalty, and he was our ultimate missing piece. Launching a massive, undeniable contract offer was our only option. It absolutely boils down to his relentless, savage hunger to push beyond the call of duty and embrace the gritty, brutal, dirty work. Heartbreaking losses often stem from shocking 40 or 50-yard explosive scoring strikes. Fans typically assume those breathtaking game breakers are always flashy wideouts or massive tight ends, but Tyler completely shatters that traditional mold. He possesses the pure horsepower to physically outrun defenders and the sheer willpower to actually secure those critical highlight reel blocks. Those relentless, deeply hidden physical efforts are exactly what secure brutal, heart-stopping one-score dogfights. During our intensive league summits all week, the data proved horrifyingly clear. Last season delivered an unprecedented, record-shattering number of absolute nail-biters decided by incredibly razor-thin margins. That specifically means a single, dedicated warrior fearlessly sacrificing his own body to ignite a sudden, devastating breakaway. Breaking open a score or violently invading the red zone completely rewrites the entire destiny of a campaign. When the locker room witnesses that supreme sacrifice, that fiery energy becomes incredibly contagious. It breeds an unstoppable culture where everyone realizes, if our big man bleeds for this squad, I must bleed too. This brilliant strategy fundamentally attacks two incredibly crucial angles. We remain absolutely hyped to unleash Colton once again, standing alongside heavy hitters like TJ and Charles Grant. However, hunting down genuinely elite edge protectors in the wild remains nearly impossible. You cannot simply throw huge bags of cash at random free agents and expect a totally locked down blindside. True dominance requires drafting raw monsters, forging them in fire, and securing them long term. That remains the ultimate, undisputed championship blueprint. We intensely scouted a massive list of mercenaries, but walking into battle with our current 3 absolute warriors feels like an incredibly massive advantage. Armed with a dangerous arsenal of 10 upcoming draft selections, we possess the terrifying power to construct a permanent dynasty from the absolute ground up, representing the ultimate path to victory. Without a single doubt, the entire football universe completely realized Tyler Linderbaum remained the absolute, undeniable crown jewel of potential offensive upgrades. He sat squarely at the very apex of their aggressive hit list. Securing his signature wasn't optional. It became the explosive catalyst desperately required to completely ignite this sleeping scoring machine. Bringing an incredibly lethal physical toolkit to the gridiron, he flawlessly patched up every single glaring vulnerability this unit desperately suffered from. The strategy violently shifted from safely hunting down a cheap knockoff version to boldly marching out and directly stealing the legendary man himself. They pulled the heavy trigger completely flawlessly. Spytek and his entirely ruthless front office absolutely deserve a massive, roaring victory lap for executing such a brilliant talent heist. When deeply examining those outside edge blockers, our general manager clearly spots explosive, wildly untapped potential that the completely clueless public continues totally ignoring. He remains masterfully concealing his strategic hand regarding Charles Grant. Just like their incredibly calculated, highly stealthy approach to properly developing Fernando Mendoza, they are intentionally keeping this massive beast quietly caged. Easing Grant into the heavy crossfire acts as a brilliant trap. They deeply recognize his terrifying physical gifts and the purely psychotic, violent aggression he unleashes immediately after the snap. The absolute bottom line proves this fierce trench squad packs way more terrifying, heavily hidden firepower than loud doubters ever want to actually admit. Let us remain totally, brutally honest. Last year's chaotic sideline leadership proved an absolute, unmitigated disaster. Injecting highly elite tactical minds directly into this building completely changes everything. Deploying a highly weaponized playbook that actually exploits these massive maulers' raw speed will spark a total game changer. And that perfectly transitions us directly toward the explosive Fernando Mendoza situation. The young gunslinger completely dominated hushed, intense whispers at the high-stakes owners' summit, with the massive Raiders quarterback chaos taking absolute, undeniable center stage. Keep in mind, these tense tapes were rolling mere hours before Kirk Cousins officially dropped his blockbuster signature. Massive backroom deals were already violently boiling over, rapidly reaching a total fever pitch. Pay extremely close, intense attention to the highly cryptic clues deeply hidden throughout his responses. Listen closely to this absolute tactical gem regarding throwing raw rookies straight into the brutal fire. Is the kid properly surrounded by heavily armed mercenaries highly capable of shielding him from sheer slaughter while simplifying the chaotic battlefield? Honestly, our deeply upgraded offensive arsenal inspires massive total confidence. Securing absolute undeniable game records like Tyler and Jalen Naylor during the wild signing frenzy felt massive. We are certainly not finished hunting yet, but we remain violently charging toward a terrifying final roster form. My ultimate goal? Reaching a dominant position where we aren't desperately relying on untested rookies to save us like last season. That absolute standard applies everywhere from the franchise signal caller right down to the special teams specialist. They hit the turf strictly when they are fiercely prepared and have undeniably fought for that starting spot. This vital philosophy will completely define our entire franchise moving forward, especially given the sheer immense potential of our current lineup. Holding 10 crucial draft selections changes everything. Seeing those Warriors step up and utterly dominate would be spectacular. However, crushing them under massive expectations is unacceptable. We must relentlessly guide and mold their raw talent first. Let them bleed in practice, master our brutal playbook, and truly become pros before touching the grass. Meanwhile, Aiden has consistently delivered phenomenal gridiron performances. He owns crucial starting experience, bombing over 300 passing yards in massive showdowns. Brilliant, relentless, and an absolute locker room warrior. Right now, he stands alone as our sole gunslinger, holding down the absolute most high-stakes role on the field. It is a fiercely legitimate debate. We are currently weighing countless explosive scenarios behind closed doors as we speak. Concrete answers will undeniably drop within weeks. While raw athletic talent remains paramount, those grueling chalk talks with our coaching staff are vital. We are ruthlessly testing their mental firepower and stripping down their pure, instinctive comprehension of this violent sport. Yet, my ultimate hidden test lies in watching their everyday swagger, tracking exactly how much respect they show everyone in headquarters. Honestly, engaging in intense, revealing dialogues helps us ruthlessly determine if their soul truly aligns with our brotherhood or if they will fracture the locker room. There is absolutely zero guaranteed formula here. I crave the intel from every single outsider, from the very driver who shuttled them from the airport straight to the guides walking them through our fortress. Did they carry themselves like champions? Did they respect the staff? Every tiny micro-interaction fuels our final merciless character breakdown when wrapping up these elite top 30 prospect evaluations. Having scouted countless high-stakes throwing sessions across my entire career, the truly legendary gunslingers always undeniably radiate absolute greatness. We will storm their territory, heavily scrutinize every single bullet they throw, and lock them into much deeper, more intense face-to-face interrogations. We have barely scratched the surface. I am absolutely craving the chance to invade their home turf, witness their daily grind, and forge a massive piece of our final verdict. Experiencing this extreme situation once is enough. We must absolutely guarantee it never happens to this franchise again. Make no mistake, the suspense is non-existent. We hold the absolute ultimate power to dictate exactly how this entire selection unfolds. Because of that immense leverage, our ironclad blueprint is set, and we will execute it with terrifying precision. We trust our relentless talent hunting system blindly. There are zero predetermined conclusions or hidden agendas driving this massive operation. Every single high-pressure interaction we launch with these elite athletes moving forward serves a deeply strategic purpose. Whether it is flying them in for top 30 summits or locking into intense video calls, it perfectly constructs our ultimate master plan. Internal debates rage on. We violently prioritize the grind over mere outcomes, trusting our methods until our final bombshell decision drops in exactly 3 weeks. Witnessing Gridiron Titans is an absolute thrill. Watching a sheer alpha signal caller orchestrate a flawless 16-0 march toward a massive national title, pure electricity. I am utterly obsessed with witnessing fearless gladiators battling fiercely at the absolute peak, sacrificing blood and sweat for their brothers, especially that stacked Indiana squad. Their locker room is overflowing with absolute warriors, which is precisely why they achieve such terrifying dominance on the field. The field general naturally steals the massive spotlight and absorbs all the explosive media hype. Yet dissecting a truly legendary roster reveals countless unsung heroes executing jaw-dropping plays. Deep down, I am an absolute fanatic for these tactical masterclasses. Seeing top-tier beasts shatter limits and carry their squads to victory gives me an unstoppable rush. It is incredibly thrilling. Spytek aggressively embraces his intense obsession with the game, knowing exactly what kind of lethal talent he desperately needs. It perfectly mirrors Mendoza's explosive declaration from 48 hours ago, ignoring the draft hype to violently chase pure, unstoppable personal greatness instead. Expanding on that fierce mindset, if he accidentally ends up seizing that top overall crown, then so be it. His true obsession is unlocking his ultimate potential, fully believing that relentless daily grinding and trusting the brutal journey guarantees spectacular future triumphs. Spytek shares that exact same ruthless DNA. We are witnessing an incredible collision of hyper-driven alpha minds taking absolute control over this franchise. Kubiak echoed those fierce exact sentiments. The legendary Tom Brady preached it constantly. Spytek literally pounded the table with it 48 hours ago. Mendoza screamed it. Crosby roars it continuously on the sidelines, boldly claiming he couldn't care less about chasing meaningless sack titles. His singular burning obsession is daily evolution. That is his absolute gospel. Linderbaum bleeds that exact same philosophy. This organization is actively forging an unstoppable empire of elite, fiercely unified leaders who all charge forward with one violent shared vision. The future looks unbelievably explosive. Pivoting back to our war room, we just secured some massive, absolute game-changing hires. Heavy hitters like Kubiak and Rico Dennis, alongside Leonard's epic promotion to commanding our entire defensive unit. Here is General Manager John Spytek dropping absolute truth bombs about assembling this killer coaching staff, building an unbreakable brotherhood, and charging headfirst into year 2 running the Raiders. Getting too comfortable just is not an option here. Frankly, this front office gig was never designed for taking it easy. It is more about a raw surge of confidence, anticipating the brutal battles ahead, and fully realizing that. Look, chaos strikes unexpectedly. You will definitely wake up to shocking phone calls bringing massive crises out of nowhere. Yet you must absorb those massive shockwaves instantly and conquer the chaos head-on without blinking. Plus, I am surrounded by absolute titans. My crew brings a relentless history of pure domination wherever they land. We were actually laughing during those intense early virtual interviews while hunting for our next fearless leader. 13 championship rings were dominating that virtual ring. Granted, a single legend possessed the vast majority of that hardware. However, an unbreakable bond exists among us. We possess ultimate faith that our elite squad will conquer any obstacle. Our chemistry is incredible, fueling explosive synergy. Bringing Clint and his masterful lieutenants into the war room has amplified everything. It gives Clint a huge edge, as absolutely nobody decodes or preaches the outside zone offense quite like Rico. The man's legendary resume speaks volumes, boasting 4 massive championship rings. His squads relentlessly crush defenses on the ground while keeping their signal caller untouchable, requiring pure mastery. It demands flawless tactics, ruthless play calling, perfect execution, and brilliant coaching. He is a highly decorated general in that exact battlefield. We are marching into some high-stakes prospect evaluations next week alongside the entire Brain Trust. We supplied them a highly explosive hit list, featuring elite talent tailored for their specific trenches. We will closely monitor how they fiercely stack those warriors up. When the dust finally settles, the burden falls heavily on Clint and myself to execute the most lethal tactical strikes possible. We must deliver greatness for this franchise. I need absolute certainty that his squad has ruthlessly analyzed every detail, while he demands that my scouting assassins have completely dissected the intel. We strive for that triumphant, unified vision. Powerful insight from the general manager, without a doubt. Listen, the most exciting element of the Brain Trust he built alongside Kubiak is purely their firepower. Every single warrior stepping into that building is an absolute heavyweight. These are no ordinary placeholders, washed-up veterans clinging to past glory, or useless dead weight just tagging along for a wild ride. We are talking zero frauds who peaked decades ago. Absolutely not. Every single commander drafted into this regime is a bona fide superstar. Coach Rico undeniably reigns supreme among the elite tier. Just imagine unleashing his terrifying intellect as our brilliant offensive mastermind. Rick Dennison orchestrates a ground assault that consistently vaporizes defenses for over 2,000 rushing yards annually across the league. Echoing the boss man's words, Dennison's presence guarantees a devastating rushing attack and a virtually impenetrable fortress around the passer. Establishing that brutal trench dominance and ironclad security are absolutely vital missions for this dynamic duo entering the upcoming campaign. Boom! That wraps up my broadcast. I am incredibly grateful to every single one of you tuning into the action. Sound off down below. Drop your fiery reactions regarding those front office remarks about our new masterminds, the intense strategy driving our open market spending, and the selection war room. Plus, react to his bold stance on our passing game and our defensive record returning. How is our executive boss handling this massive pressure? Will he drop absolute nukes when the selection clock starts ticking? Will he conquer the weekend or stumble entirely? Bring the heat with your boldest predictions in the comment section. Do not forget to smash that thumbs up and aggressively subscribe. It is a phenomenal zero-cost method to elevate our community. Viewing on your phone? Just swipe those remarks away briefly and ignite the engagement algorithms for this content. Much love. Your energy supercharges our growth immensely. I hustle relentlessly to drop daily bangers, requiring only one favor. Broadcast our movement to your squad, your rivals, and your family. Silver and black against the universe remains the ultimate mindset. Signing off for now, you absolute legends. Stay fierce. Peace out, my die-hard fanatics. Appreciate the massive support. We have an avalanche of epic content coming. Pulverize the approval icon, sound off below, join the subscriber ranks, and blast this across your digital networks. It is the absolute easiest power move to keep this hype train roaring at full speed.